Well, this is going to be sea scallops in a pink sauce, flavored with brandy, shallots, garlic, heavy cream, and we're going to use butter to saute, season the scallops, coat them with flour. The reason why, these tomatoes are going to give off a lot of liquid, and I don't want to have to thicken the sauce later on. So we run the tomatoes in the bullet, strain them. Then I have my pink, and the flour will thicken it just right. That's on the scallops. So it's fairly, well, it's a nice recipe. And this will be my dinner tonight. And the only reason I'm making this, I found scallops in Stop and Shop for $15 a pound. I thought that was a pretty good price. So that's what we're dealing with, 1 pound of scallops. Now, first thing I want to do, get this out of the way, because everything else I have has already been prepped. And we have fresh basil, and the, why is it when I want something, now even though that's white right now, after it's cooked, it'll be pink again. This just simplifies things. I'm going to run that for another 2 minutes, and then I'm going to strain it. Through the chinois, and it'll be ever so smooth. Well, this is the first time I did that with tomatoes, and I changed my mind. You can see how smooth that is. I'm not going to strain it, but it is rather liquidy. So we're going to do what we said, but no straining. First off, let's see what we have here. There are the sea scallops. And they look nice and dry. That means they probably weren't frozen. But you never know. There's the shallots and the garlic. Here is a cup of fresh basil leaves, loosely packed. And I'm not chopping it. I want to see the leaves just like if it was fresh spinach, it'll look the same way. So let's season the scallops. That's sea salt, excellent sea salt. It's not white, that means it hasn't been processed that much. And some black pepper. Try not to use my hands at all, because then I got to clean them too often. So toss this well. If you're opposed to using black pepper because you'll see it, use white pepper. Or use a drop of hot sauce. It really doesn't matter. It's all up to the individual. Okay, so they've been mixed up and confused. Now we're going to add the flour. It's a waste of flour, but it just makes it simpler. Instead of being really, you know, just adding just a drop of flour, I like doing it like this, so you lose a little. But it's well coated, and then I don't have to touch the scallops anymore. So what I'm going to do is get a pan, a saute pan. We'll put the butter in there, saute the scallops with the shallots and the garlic. Remove the scallops, put the brandy, ignite the brandy, then pour in the tomatoes and the heavy cream. Let that cook. And it'll come out very nicely. One thing we don't want to do is overcook the scallops. So if you're cooking the scallops, just like fish, and you happen to see after you're cooking for a little while that it's getting cracks in it, you might have gone too far. Start off with a moderate flame, and it may look like that's too much for that pan, but watch, seafood shrinks an awful lot. So we'll put the butter. Sometimes, most often I don't cook with butter, but when it comes to a cream type sauce, you did the damage anyway, so you might as well make it really good. Now I'll get my tongs. Like I said, I'm not touching this. Mix it up one more time with the flour. I could start putting them in now. The butter doesn't have to fully melt. That's it. Just knock the camera over, destroy the film. Adjust that. I like to get a nice close-up so you can really see. Okay, so let's get the scallops in there. This is just the right amount, a pound for 2 people. Especially with my wife. When it comes to eating certain things, I gotta fight for it. Don't tell her that. I'm going to sprinkle the garlic and the, well, that was just perfect, the amount. When you're cooking, always cook. The pan should never be too large where the ingredients are swimming around. It's just how it is. It works better. By the time this cooks on one side, now I'm going to raise the flame. And we turn it over. They're just about done. They don't take a lot to cook seafood. Most people overcook the seafood. At first I said I wasn't going to use any herbs, but I found some fresh basil in my refrigerator. And since it's a pink sauce, they work together. You could add mushrooms in here. Oh, you could, there are so many variables. So now I have to have a plate ready. As soon as the scallops cook a little bit. If they get color, that's fine. If they don't get color, that's fine too. As long as, you know, it's different. If you're going to broil scallops, you have to get color. But this is in a cream sauce. Pink sauce, cream sauce. You should this should be smell-o-vision, because most of the things that I cook have a nice aroma. And I'm having this with the recipe that I just made an hour ago, which was corn and mushrooms and some plain basmati rice. And that should be just enough. I could have a green vegetable in there, but that's fine. I don't think I'm going to waste film on this. I'm going to shut it off and then restart it when I see that I'm going to turn it over. Well, that's been about another minute. I'm going to turn them over. Not looking for any color. I'm just looking at the time that it's going to take for this stuff to cook. I have another pan that would probably have cooked this better. I'm seeing that it's not even. So that means the bottom, which I thought was a thick bottom, is not as thick as I thought. Let me take a look. You see that? Well, I tell you, everything smells great. That's all that counts. Now we're going to take the scallops out. See how rare they are? Now don't forget, you can eat raw scallops. If you have ever had scallop sushi, we get the brandy in there very quickly, and then the tomatoes. Just don't burn the house down. I haven't yet, so. And then, of course, even though we seasoned the scallops, this is deglazing. Just scrape it good. You get all that flavor in the sauce. And then in another minute, I'm going to add the heavy cream. Well, maybe 2 minutes. Let this cook a little bit. Scrape that well. You don't want anything stuck on the bottom. Now you see how watery that is, and you see how it's turning red again from being and as soon as that consistency is like thick enough where it won't be running on the plate, I'm going to add the heavy cream. So that'll take a few more minutes. Shut the camera off and look at this again. Well, that's been a couple of minutes, a few minutes, depending on the flame that you're using. But as you see, nice and thick. So I'm going to add the heavy cream and then let it simmer for a few minutes, and then we're going to taste it. Now, of course, this is going to reduce, but that's just fine. Now let that cook down slowly, and I'll be back in a few minutes. It's been a few minutes. It's cooking easy. I tasted it. I'm going to add more salt. And that's what you do as you go along. Keep on tasting everything. Just don't do it once. I just don't think you have to season just one item in the recipe. This has to reduce, as you can see. I'll let it go nice and slow. Not too high of a flame. It'll reduce, just give it time. That's a good consistency because it's going to cook a little bit more after we add the scallops, which we're going to do right now. And the juice. That is scallop flavor. And the basil. So let's be careful now and not break up any more scallops. Easy. Now, as soon as that comes to a little boil, after 2 minutes, we're done. Rich, nice. Of course it's rich. It has heavy cream. It's been about 4 minutes. So what we're going to do is, look at that creaminess. I'm not going to cut into it, but you see that? It's not cracked. It's pretty good, nice firmness to it. That means you're done. Shut this off. I'll put a few on a plate just to look at it. And I have to leave it there. My wife comes home. I will serve this. And there you have it. Nice pink sauce with the basil. Serve it with rice. Oh, is that great with rice? You could do it with pasta too, but rice really works well. I hope you enjoy that.